morning, class, and welcome to a science experiment on the topic that we are learning, which is smoking and its effects on your body. Today we're going to have an experiment called Smoking and its Effects on Your Lung, a science experiment. The materials we are going to need for this experiment are a sponge, because a sponge is closely related to your lungs in one way, and that is a living organism, just an ordinary kitchen sponge. A jar with a lid on it to capture the smoke, a lighter, and either paper or candle. In this case, we're going to be using paper, and we're going to be using newspaper. The reason why we do not use a cigarette is because of two reasons. One, they're harmful, and two, the probability of secondhand smoke affecting people, we do not want to do that. So we are just going to be using newspaper because it contains chemicals much like a cigarette does. As you can see by the thing, the average smoker smokes between 10 to 15 cigarettes a day. So that means we are going to conduct this experiment 10 to 15 times to see the effects smoking will have on you in just one day. Okay, as you can see, we have our sponge, which is placed into the wood, into the lid. We have our jar, and what we're going to do now is we're going to light our fake cigarette, or in this case the paper, and we're going to let it burn, and we're going to place it into the jar. And the reason why we're doing that is because we want to simulate how the smoke gets into your lungs. The jar is going to serve as your lungs, and the sponge is going to serve as the tissue of your lungs. Okay, so it's burning. We're going to leave it. We're going to put it in there. Then we're just going to shut. We're not going to blow it out, but we're going to shut it. Now watch very closely the jar. Do you see how quickly smoke fills up that jar? That is exactly what happens to your lungs every time you take a puff on the smoke. Now, when we do this, okay, we're going to be doing this 15 times. Now, for time reasons, I can't necessarily show you all 15 times, because what we do is we're going to let this sit for 6 to 8 minutes, which is the average time for a smoker, okay, to smoke a cigarette and to fill his lungs with it. We will do it 15 times, and then what we're going to do is we will be back in a couple minutes, and we'll show you the results of what happened to all this smoke after the first one. And then we will zoom ahead to the 15th one, and we will show you exactly what happens to the sponge on the 15th time. So we'll see you in a couple minutes. Okay, we are back after 6 minutes. Now, I want you to see exactly how much smoke is left inside of your lungs. See all that smoke coming out? That is what's somewhat trapped in your lungs and takes a while to get back out. Okay, so what we are going to do is now we are going to repeat this exercise 15 times, 14 more times to be precise, and then I will then show you exactly what happens to the sponge. Okay, so just hold on. We'll be back. The experiment normally takes over an hour, but we're just going to show you the condensed version so you can see the end of it. Okay, after 15 times exposing the sponge to the smoke, let's take a look at what the sponge looks like. Okay, the jar we're just opening now. Remember, this is going to be very hot, so we got to be careful. As you can see, there still is some smoke coming out. Oh, the sponge did fall, but I want to show you something. Look at the edges especially. Okay, because this stuff is not stuff from down there. It is just the edges. Look how much of that tar and look how much of the smoke has infiltrated this sponge. That is exactly like your lungs. So you got to be very, very careful. Okay. Now the reason, if you look at the jar, the bottom of the jar, I left all the black soot and stuff like that. That is a lot like your lungs. And the reason why it's a lot like your lungs is because when there is tar and there's nicotine in cigarettes, some of that gets left in your lungs. I hope you can see by this experiment and by how badly this sponge has become that you should not take smoking. Hold on just a moment. Okay, just take a moment now and please just read this. After the experiment question, please take some time and write a paragraph about what you observed during this experiment. Did you see the effect on the sponge? How do you think a sponge would look after